Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print, the Force is with the readers, and we are returning again to the comic strips by Russ Manning, this time in the year 1980. Yes, we've moved from 79, finally, into 1980. You may recall that Princess Leia Imperial Servant ended on December 31st of 1979, so there's nowhere to go but into 1980 here. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler, and this is a comic strip that actually ran from January 1st through February 25th of 1980, the first of the 1980 newspaper strips from the LA Times newspaper syndicate, with art by Russ Manning, and I've actually seen some conflicting credits here as far as the writer. Russ Manning is given credit in the reprint of it, which is a story called The Second Kessel Run, that is here as Classic Star Wars The Early Adventures number 6. Russ Manning is given credit here and on the inside. There are some sites that are citing Russ Helm, which is Archie Goodwin's pseudonym, as the writer, though until I hear otherwise, I'm going with Russ Manning. That's the official word on the subject, it would seem. Suffice to say, it is another of these black and white newspaper strips. In this case, what we've got is a story in which there's this scientist, Ren Voles. Sounds almost like he should be some kind of like a Christian music artist. For some reason that like screams in my mind, Christian music artist. I don't know why. Maybe there's somebody with a similar name or something like that out there, perhaps. Anyway, Ren Voles is a scientist. He created a thing called it's the ironic ring ship. Yeah, it plays that crappy Alanis Morissette song that isn't really ironic all the time. No, it's an ionic ring ship. Yeah, ionic. That's what we want here. The Ionic Ring ship is essentially a weather dominator for those who are fans of G.I. Joe. It's a weather-controlling ship that looks almost like it should be just like a satellite of some kind. Looks actually quite primitive by Star Wars standards. It looks like something we'd cook up, in Earth technology here. Suffice to say, Ren Voles has created this, and he and his daughter are testing it out. Mira Voles, they're there together testing it out. The Empire says, "Oh, cool, it worked. And now it is ours." And they want to use it to essentially go after rebel bases and freeze them all, destroy them all, turn them into wastelands as well as they can. They eventually wind up deciding to turn this on Kessel, which is said to be the home planet of the Voles family. But Kessel here is shown as sort of a fungus world. It's not really the way that we picture Kessel any other time that we see it. I mean, it is an odd place. Let me see if I can show you some of those. Yeah, they're like flying amongst the fungi here. It's a little bit weird. Almost reminds me of Felucia in some respects there, just with a different color scheme. And obviously, decades removed from when Felucia was created within Star Wars itself. But the idea is that they're going to Kessel, the home planet of the Voleses, and they're going to destroy it if Voles doesn't do what they want. And they've captured Voles, but Mira has escaped. She winds up aboard the Millennium Falcon, and long story short, as part of cargo, and long story short, she needs the rebels' help in order to stop them from that destruction. For what it's worth, this has later been retconned to be Little Kessel, not actually Kessel. Part of the Kessel Run, but not actually Kessel. Also here, bear in mind that the reason why Han is in this area to begin with is he's on another Kessel Run. This is called the Second Kessel Run. It's not the second. There's tons of the things. Second, just because they want to distinguish it from the one that Han boasts about in A New Hope, which of course is retold over and over and over and over again. At least this time they said it's a different one. Thank goodness. Although, I will say here that it does sort of present some interesting challenges, because the way that it was set up in here says that he's doing this Kessel Run for Jabba the Hutt. So he's either doing it to pay back Jabba, or he's in that little gap within the Marvel series where Jabba, Mosep, basically the way that they play it out, so maybe working for Jabba, has sort of forgiven the debt briefly, but then by the time you get to the end of the storyline that ends with Immortal Combat, the one where Luke winds up killing Orman Tag and whatnot, you get this moment where Han realizes that the bounty is back on his head because Jabba had invested in Crimson Jack's ship, and now that he took out Crimson Jack, now Jabba's ticked off and says he owes money again. So it's either in that time where it's okay, or maybe he's working to pay off Jabba, or maybe Jabba just had brief amnesia and said, I want the money from you, or I want to destroy you. That's alright. Come on, do another job for me. What do you say? We can work it out. Whatever. Anyway, the premise is a little bit flimsy here. I mean, a weather dominator ship. Premise, a little bit flimsy. Although we will see that in other incarnations in Star Wars, it's not the last time we're going to see some kind of weather-controlling platform here. What's really interesting about the story is the way it plays out at the end. We have essentially two missions to try to save Ren Voles, because Ren is being threatened with his daughter's safety, but his daughter has already escaped. He just doesn't know it. And there's this thing that the droids and Mira are doing to try to transmit her through this kind of weird life-size hologram type of emitter thing. She stands in like this weird kind of wicker basket looking, plant almost looking thing, and it's going to transmit a holographic version of her wherever she wants without necessarily having a hologram receiving platform. They're trying to get that to be able to reach far enough to get a message to her father that she's okay. When that doesn't seem like it's going to work, our heroes, except for her, because she's still trying to send the transmission, run off to try to actually stop Voles on their own. And there's these 2 rescue missions all trying to stop Voles from destroying Kessel over the whole issue of his daughter's safety, only to have it turn out that at the last minute he says, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. If it means sacrificing my life and my daughter's life, that's the right thing to do. She would agree with me. I am going to say no to the Empire. And then he finds out that she's alive. Our heroes come in and save the day, but only after he makes that decision. Generally speaking, this story is a very forgetful one. There isn't all that much interesting about it, just like the case is with a lot of Russ Manning's early Star Wars works. It's just kind of a fluff story that has little impact. We can answer our question right now. Is it an essential read? Heck no! Not in any way, shape, or form. But it has that cool, poignant moment where this father decides that it's better to sacrifice his life and his daughter's life. The Imperial captain says, "Come, come, Voles, your ship is capable of more destruction than that." To which Voles says, "No, no, I can't do this to my own world, my own people. I won't follow your orders any longer, Bazorn." That's the name of the Imperial. Bazorn, B-Z-O-R-N, because somehow B and Z make sense putting those letters together in Star Wars. Reminds me of the thing with back during, I guess, what was going on. Was it Serbia, I guess it was, when Clinton was sending in troops and such into Eastern Europe, and The Onion had a front page that said that Clinton deploys vowels to Eastern Europe. I love the Russian language myself, but yeah, there's some times where languages take sounds that we don't think in English sound right together and put them together. But I digress quite a bit. He says, "Do what you will to me and to my daughter. Mira, forgive me." The Imperial says, "Don't be a fool, Voles. You're disobeying Lord Vader's direct orders." To which he replies, "Do your worst, Bazorn. If Mira and I must give our lives to save the people of Kessel, then so be it." And then almost instantly, in come Han, Luke, and Chewie. But it's a poignant moment to have a character willing to essentially give up his life to save so many others. We would expect this necessarily in more modern EU stuff, but back then, when the stories a lot of times are fluff, especially in the newspaper series, to have that kind of character moment was really kind of inspiring. To think, maybe this series can get better. Maybe the newspaper strips do have something going for them other than the Star Wars license. Maybe they could get deeper. And they will, to a degree, under Archie Goodwin. Unfortunately, not so much under Russ Manning. So, again, not an essential read. You can find it. Again, it is entitled The Second Kessel Run in Classic Star Wars The Early Adventures, number 6. Definitely not one of the best of this era, but that cool moment makes it worth checking out, perhaps. Or just skip to that part of the story. Probably a much better idea. On that note, we wrap this episode up. Thank you for watching, and as always, may the Force be with the readers.